Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum. We're going to be doing a general assessment of where we are. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. So let's see where things are, and then maybe we can get a better idea of things that could theoretically happen. So currently the price is just around $2,200. We've been generally moving up. If we look at weekly candles, you can see that we have been mostly moving up since March of 2020, and we've barely looked back in a very long time period. Now, if you look at monthly candles, what you'll notice is that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're currently in our 7th monthly candle in a row that is green. And as long as it closes above, as long as we close above 1919, we will have another monthly green candle. So that would be 7 in a row. Have we had 7 in a row before? Well, we just go back and look. You can see we haven't had it in a long time. This one is on Bitfinex, so it doesn't go all the way back. Let's go look at it on Kraken and see how far back it goes here. You can see that in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would be the first time we've ever put 7 greens in a row if we close the month above 1919 and 47 cents according to this exchange. Okay, but what we really want to look at is the implications of pullbacks and the implications of a bounce by Bitcoin. Okay, so if Bitcoin pulls back to the 20-week moving average, we should note that from the current levels, that would represent a drop of approximately 10%. Now, Ethereum is much further away from its 20-week moving average. In fact, it's closer to about 30%, okay? It's closer to about 30% than 10%. So there's a pretty big difference there, and it shows you that increased volatility by Ethereum. Ethereum's been a lot more volatile than Bitcoin. It's still a lot more further extended from the 20-week. So it sort of makes sense that when you do get major corrections, why a lot of other coins besides Bitcoin, why they bleed more, is because their volatility to the upside was a lot higher. And so when Bitcoin bleeds, they'll come down a lot more because they were extended further than Bitcoin was in the first place. So hopefully that makes sense. So if Ethereum were to capitulate to the 20-week SMA, that would be about a 30% drop from the current prices. And at the current level of the 20-week SMA, that would be about $1,528. Now, again, the 20-week SMA is moving up each and every day, and we're going to be getting another weekly close here in a few hours, and it'll be even higher than that in the not-so-distant future. It'll be higher than 1,528. But let's go look at Bitcoin and see what has happened before when Bitcoin drops to the 20-week moving average. Does Ethereum always capitulate? What does that look like? Okay, so in order to do that, let's just go back in time. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to go back. I guess I can just keep it on this one since Ethereum wasn't even around in 2011, so there's no point in necessarily needing to talk about that. So what happened here? Now, if you look in 2016, Bitcoin came down to the 20-week moving average. In January, so January of 2016, Bitcoin had a correction to the 20-week SMA. What did Ethereum do in January of 2016? So the same time period, January 2016. Well, Ethereum was going crazy at the time. Now, there were a lot of differences during that time period. For instance, Ethereum at the time was already sort of below the 20-week SMA, so it was coming at it from a very different perspective. But we have to remember that just because Bitcoin is at the 20-week doesn't mean that Ethereum can't make a move, as noted here, okay? And of course, there were many other times when Bitcoin went down to the 20-week. Here's an example of it hitting the 20-week in August of 2016. If we go look at August of 2016, we can see at that time, Ethereum was just riding the 20-week moving average. And then it dumped in October through December. So Ethereum fell below it in October, November, December. What was Bitcoin doing during that time? It was actually going up. So you can see that they're not always necessarily the most correlated on any given day, but over the grand scheme of the entire bull market, they are fairly well correlated because they do tend to just both go up. It's just they go up at very different times. And a lot of times, I mean, we've seen that happen before where the price of Bitcoin's going up and Ethereum might even be slightly bleeding. You know, one of those examples was in Q4 of 2020. There were days where Bitcoin was going up and Ethereum was losing value, I think. So we know that those phases can exist. Here's another time when Ethereum started going up very quickly, and this was in February of 2017. So what was Bitcoin doing in February of 2017? Well, it was also going up. It had a pullback in March to the 20-week SMA, and despite the fact that Bitcoin had a pullback in March, Ethereum sort of just paused for a few weeks and continued on until June. And what was Bitcoin doing? Okay, it paused in March, it came down in March, Ethereum just went sideways, and then Bitcoin continued on. And you can see that Ethereum just sort of hesitated before continuing on. It did not have that correction to the 20-week. I mean, there was this wick here, but it did not have that same correction to the 20-week SMA that Bitcoin had at the same time. So there's no guarantee that just because Bitcoin goes to the 20-week that Ethereum has to, as shown on the chart. Now, what would happen in the event that Bitcoin does not immediately go to the 20-week SMA? Now, I do think there's a good chance that over the next few weeks, Bitcoin will visit the 20-week. It's currently at around $44,000. That's about to go up probably by about $1,500 when we get the new weekly close here in a few hours. But what would happen if instead of going to the 20-week immediately, what would happen if Bitcoin bounced off the 100-day? This is the 100-day moving average. So the idea is, you know, yes, the bull market support band, which again is the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, it's all the way down here, but there's always a chance that Bitcoin bounces, and it might not necessarily put in a new all-time high. I mean, if it does, then that completely changes the game. We kick the can down the road. We keep repeating the same process that we've been going through. If it bounces and sort of does one of those bounces where it doesn't put in a new all-time high, and let's say it comes back down, during this bounce, Ethereum could do quite well. Okay, so we've seen those types of market conditions before where Bitcoin bounces and a lot of other coins can do very well during that bounce, even if it's unable to put in a new all-time high. So we want to keep that in mind as well. The 20-day SMA for Bitcoin, which is where people would probably start to get very bullish on Bitcoin again, is at 57,291. So if you saw Bitcoin bouncing above that level, then there might be a lot of bulls getting really hyped up for Bitcoin again. So I would say let's look to see if Bitcoin bounces. If Bitcoin bounces here, then there's a good chance that Ethereum could bounce back up even harder than Bitcoin does. Okay, if Bitcoin does not bounce here, then there's a decent chance we go straight to the 20-week SMA, which is another 10% drop or so. Okay, so the 20-week SMA would be another 10% drop from the current prices for Bitcoin. And if it were to drop 10%, my guess is Ethereum's going to drop maybe 15 to 20% in that type of scenario. So it'd be like a 15, this is my guess, would be about a 15 or 20% drop if Bitcoin were to go to the 20-week SMA. So that could take us, obviously that could take us to around the $2,000 level or below. Easily below if Bitcoin drops another 10%. Because if Bitcoin drops another 10%, then that would essentially put Ethereum dropping the same amount already below 2K. So there's a decent chance that if Bitcoin goes to the 20-week SMA, that Ethereum is going to be going below $2,000. We always said there's a good chance $2,500 will not go down without a significant fight. We have moved above it a couple times, but we've come right back down. So showing that, you know, really $2,500 is a force to be reckoned with for the valuation of Ethereum. So let's look at the Ether Bitcoin valuation. Now, we have to remember that with this one, the time between moves to the top of the uptrend channel, again, can take upwards of half a year, okay? And so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and thinking that it has to happen immediately. Of course, we are always excited if it does, but, you know, if you just simply look at, say, tests of the upper band or the upper channel here, it can take upwards of 5 or 6 months. So far, we're only out about not even 3 months. So is it possible we go up in the short term? Of course it is. It's also possible that it takes us a few months, like we discussed before, right? It's possible that it takes us a few months to get there. So we want to consider that implication too, but also recognizing that, hey, none of us really know what's going to happen in the short term, but what we all can recognize is that we are generally moving up. Okay, we're generally moving up. Let's zoom out here. That we're generally moving up here, and we're sort of just going between the top and the bottom. Okay, this is all we're doing, and it's just been the same thing for quite a while now. So I would say just sometimes you need to take a step back and realize, hey, we're going to go up, we're going to go down, but generally we're going up in terms of the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation. Now, if you look at it on a linear scale, it does tell a very similar story, but we're, again, same idea, right? We're generally moving up, and from the bottom to the top, right? Bottom to the top, we just keep playing the same game over and over and over again. Okay, and we haven't even gotten to the top this time. We came pretty close, but arguably, I would like to see us go above 0.05 before I could say, hey, we're back at the top of the uptrend channel. And note that there have been times in the past where we kind of go up to the halfway point and then come back down. So we can't forget that either, that, hey, not every move takes us to the top. In fact, it almost seems like every little sub-cycle here, we have one of those moves that sort of takes us to the halfway point, but not all the way up to the top. So just something to keep in mind. Now, this is just sort of like, a general assessment of the valuation of Ethereum. I remain very bullish on Ethereum over the macro scale. You guys know that. I do think it can go close to 5 figures. I don't know if it'll quite make it, but I do think that it could easily go close to 5 figures this market cycle, and we're very much on course. We're very much on course, and hey, we're going to get corrections along the way. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. At the very least, in a bull market, we know the downside risk is about to the bull market support band, which represents about a 30% drop. Why do we know that? Well, we had these types of drops last cycle, down to the 20-week, again here. So we know this is possible. We've seen it happen many, many times. And if it does happen, I would say, to treat that as an opportunity. That would come off to me as like an opportunity if we were to, say, get these major corrections back down to where it's sort of going to this level that a lot of people are going to be, they're going to be in a position where they've lost money in the short term. And that's why, of course, chasing pumps can be somewhat challenging, because you might feel like you get trapped up here. But I would like to say that if you were buying Ethereum up here, let's say 2,500, 2,600, if you were buying it up there, then in the short term, anything can happen. But over the scale of the entire cycle, which can go on for a long time, I do think Ethereum will bail you out. Okay, I do think it will bail you out, but you just never really know how long that's going to take. It could take a couple days, it could take a few weeks, could take a few months. I don't know, but I will say I do think it'll bail you out. I believe that Ethereum will stand the test of time and generally trend upwards. Okay, there will be bear markets, but it should generally trend upwards. I think that'll wrap it up. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, if you want to know how I'm navigating the market, check out the premium list intothecryptoverse.com. You'll also get access to the weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the Into the Cryptoverse app, premium only live streams, and more. We also have the first Into the Cryptoverse NFT. We're going to be doing the drop for that probably in the next couple weeks. So if you guys want to check that out or get that, make sure you sign up to the premium list fairly soon, intothecryptoverse.com. At the very least, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.